Hi everyone, welcome. Today's session is getting started with Ansible. Agenda for today is we're going to talk little on motivation, what motivates us to use Ansible. We're going to talk on what is Ansible, what actually it is, what it can do, what are the basics of this language, like every language has, and how do you install and small demo. So today's session is mostly targeted on very basics. So it's for the people, for example, we are the first time users for Ansible and we don't know. So this is for us. Most of us are developers, most of us are from sysadmins, most of us are from IT, and then there are so many tasks which we do day to day. Let's imagine what we had a life before configuration management, and in this case, we are talking about Ansible. So, for example, if we had to restart all the servers in my ecosystem, and then we have to write scripts, and then you're managing that. But there are some flaws because there was problem with error handling, and you don't know what went right on which particular node and what was not correct on that on one of others nodes. So you have to bring so many other stuff. And another thing is like, so for example, you have another process of like you have an application and you have to decide how do you deploy it to different ecosystems, maybe in dev, prod, and stage. And then also there are so many steps involved. So writing a script for that becomes really tedious. And then you, for example, if I write a script for myself and then if it passes to the other one, it becomes very tedious. It's kind of a you can understand as a framework. Another thing is that, so for example, for big servers, long running servers, like maybe you can say database servers, and you need to have a configuration state of that particular server managed and stored somewhere else, so that if something goes wrong on top on that server, you have a control. You know what actually went wrong, and then you can actually make it right just running a few things. So that's where Ansible comes in. That comes like, so there are so many other configuration management systems that comes into picture, but today we're going to talk about Ansible, and then that's where Ansible comes in. So when we talk about what Ansible is and how it solves these problems, it becomes very clear for us that why people are using Ansible and why they are not using other configuration management systems. So motivation is that Ansible, we have to talk a little bit about why Ansible, how it is motivating us to use Ansible, because it's really very simple, really very simple, because you don't need to have any basics to any prerequisites to learn Ansible like you have for Kubernetes. You need to have a Docker. For Docker, you need to have containers. Prerequisites for Ansible, you don't need to have any prerequisites, no programming language as a prerequisites, but a basic understanding of, okay, what variable is, what small action, what task is, and it is very similar to what we have been doing before. So, for example, I have been maybe if I was a system administrator, I have been using a command. I have been using SSH, going into a system and firing up some commands and coming out. So it's very similar to that, and on top of that, it's giving you more set of features. It's very powerful. It's very simple to learn. And for example, if something is written in Ansible and if you go and see it for the very first time, it becomes very easy for you to understand. So it's very easy. Okay, so as I talked about, little motivation, maybe that was not enough, but yeah. So when we actually see the demo, it becomes very clear. Okay, what is Ansible? So different people have their different definition for Ansible, but it's very powerful IT automation. And if you talk about automation, it's one of the components in DevOps. And automation, you bring in automation to make your task easier. You have redundant tasks. For example, you have your new user coming in, and you go ahead and create a user, and then whenever a new user comes in, you do the same thing again and again. So you try to automate it using Ansible. There are so many other things which you do on a regular basis, and when you bring in automation, it becomes very easy. It saves time, and it buys you extra time for other activities where you can actually put your time into. It's very simple, as I said. It's very simple. You have a few language basics you need to understand, and you're good to go. Yeah, it's very powerful. Powerful as in. It has rich set of modules. I'll be talking in coming slides. It is agentless. So for agentless, I want to bring in into another one example as in a picture. I was used to with another configuration management called SolveStack. There are different others. So they have this architecture of a master slave where they have to have their slaves, they have to have their agents running on every node which they are trying to manage. So yeah, it gives a good set of features, but when you have an overhead of actually adding nodes, extra agent nodes to all of your IT, all of your servers. The first thing it needs, for example, if you have 1,000 servers, you have to make sure that all 1,000 servers has this agent to for you to manage. But it's not that it is not in case of Ansible. You no need to. I mean, you don't need to worry whether your agent is there or not. You just need to have Ansible on one of the nodes, and you just have to have a connectivity from the main node, and that's it. Another problem with the agent based config management is, we are talking more on config management as of now here. Just as an example, is that, for example, if you have your agent to be updated or upgraded to a new version, it gives you a lot of pain, and it is really a great pain, because you need to put a new version, and then you have to make sure that when your new version is there, your particular agent or that slave connects back to your server, which is your master in that case, and it also occupies your space and so many things, and they have that process which should be running all the time, so that it keeps communicating. But that is not in there. That is not in case of Ansible. So Ansible, whenever you install Ansible, there is no process like being a running process which keeps on running in the background, or which keeps on exposing its service on a port. It's like a binary which you activate when you want to activate, and it's really agentless. It talks over like same protocol which we have been using in our day-to-day life, and that's really very secure. So SSH, and it also works on different other protocols depending upon. But yeah, so that's what it makes it very simple and powerful, and it is agentless. Okay, so when talking architecture, right? When we talk about architecture, we'll get to know what is automation engine. So Ansible, when you install Ansible, that itself is an automation engine, and we'll also talk about what are playbooks. So yeah, and to summarize this slide, it's a simple automation language. So language which gives you which empowers with you with an automation is Ansible, and it's very simple to use. Okay, so coming to what can Ansible do? Because yeah, I'm talking on Ansible. What and all we can do with Ansible? What problems we can solve with Ansible? So first one is we can do configuration management. Configuration management is like you decide a desired state or a desired configuration, not a state, desired configuration of certain. Maybe it can be a package, it can be your any program, or it can be your anything. It can be, maybe it can be a DB, so or it can be your application. So for example, you have an application, and you write, okay, this is the desired state. If something goes wrong, I just run this, it comes to the correct state. So that is the desired state. So configuration management is one of the thing what Ansible can do. Application deployment. So most of the places with Jenkins, it's always preferred to use Ansible. So what you do is you have a plugin to be installed with Jenkins, and actually you call it your Ansible playbooks, depending upon what you want to do. Maybe you can write a playbooks for build, playbooks for deploy, playbooks for test, and playbooks for so many other things. So, and when you actually do it, so that comes in different parts. So in application deployment, for example, let me give you a use case. For example, if you have an application which is running in EC2 instances, and that is behind load balancers, so with Ansible, what you can do is you can actually deploy an application in a very rolling update manner, where you actually connect with and your Ansible connects with your cloud and gets the detail, and it sees okay, this is the current scenario of the traffic, and when I'm actually doing deployment, I'm taking that particular instance out, and when things go good, then only I'm putting it back inside. So that is one of the use case. So rolling update is one. You can actually achieve all other deployment model. Provisioning, yeah, Ansible can be used for provisioning your resources, infrastructure. You can use Ansible to provision like EC2 instance, security group, anything, and anything and everything. So this can even be used for provisioning. continuous delivery, as I was explaining in the first part where I was talking about application deployment. So continuous delivery is like you have actually your whole pipeline written. You have a Jenkins pipeline, and whole everything inside your pipeline is actually intact with your Ansible, and then they are actually connected, and they are doing at the whatever you want to do. So they have an email client, they have all the modules. So I'll be talking about what modules are in this session in the next slide, and you'll be knowing about security and compliance. Yeah. So it's since it is agentless, so you don't have to worry about okay, I want to run it. So all you need is you have to have Ansible on some machine, and you're good to go. Orchestration, so when you combine all things together and you can actually use it. So there is another product with from Red Hat. So actually Ansible, there was a company called Ansible Link, and somewhere around 2015 Red Hat bought that company, and now it is acquired by Red Hat. And yeah, so there is another tool which is built on top of Ansible, is called Ansible Tower. So when you have Ansible Tower, you can actually have a full-fledged feature and full-fledged whatever Ansible gives, right? So if Ansible gives you, you can have actually the feel of an orchestration, and then all of the features which actually Ansible gives. Okay, this is how Ansible architecture looks like. I took it from the Ansible Red Hat official docs. So as a reference, you can use docs.ansible.com. That is where you can get the documentation. So when you see, right, so this is the automation engine, Ansible automation engine. So you just need to have this. You have an inventory, you have a user, you have Ansible-Playbooks, you have host, networking, all this, everything I'm gonna just explain you in coming slides one by one all together. So it's like, it is very simple. So module is what actually runs. So everything has a module. For example, if you're trying to connect to a Linux machine, maybe Ubuntu machine, then firewall, CMD, or UFW runs as a module. So how it works is like you have you have a user, and you describe something. Okay, you write something what you are going to do it. For example, you are going to install Nginx. So you are going to write steps. You're going to say, okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open a port which is 8080. So I'm gonna write a playbook which actually opens a firewall. So it is actually going and talking with, it's executing the modules. So what it does, it takes up the module, pushes to the particular node where you are actually going to run, and then executes there and removes that. So you can have an API. So you have an API, like you can have a Python API. You can in any like for like Kubernetes, like for anything. For example, for AWS SDK, right? So you can actually have an API, or like you can write a program which actually fires an Ansible, and then it does everything on top of it. Yeah, and CMDB is like, you have, when you understand inventory, then you understand your CMDB, and this is like you can actually this is your automation engine, and you can plug everything. So it is batteries enabled. Actually, when you have this AWS inventory, you can actually connect with AWS and provision, configure whatever you want, and same goes with the other clouds. Yeah. Yeah. So these things I'm gonna since I'm gonna explain it every one by one. So just knowing the terms will do good. So this is what it actually stays, nothing else. This is user. This is Ansible-Playbooks, and then playbooks is what it contains. Plays contains task, and I'm gonna explain what tasks are. Okay, few concepts before going in. So there is something called control node. Okay, so control node is like as I said, right? So you don't need to have a master or slave concepts. So there is only one node which actually act as a control node, because it is actually a place from where you're going to fire your Ansible. You're going to push your configuration to other nodes. So this is where your Ansible needs to be. Okay. And then in most of the configuration management tools, right? So you need to have, for example, you have let's say a salt stack. So you need to have your salt to be installed on both the nodes, either it's master or slave. Here it's not the case. So control node is the place where you need to have your Ansible installed. So this is the place from where you fire commands. You can actually call it as a controller. Managed nodes are like targeted nodes. You can say the nodes which you're going to manage it by Ansible, they are managed nodes. It's as simple as that. It can be any node, it can be any operating system. Yeah. So depending upon operating system, it uses the protocol SSH for Linux and WinRM for Windows. What is inventory? Inventory is like, so list of managed nodes. So you have like now, for example, you have a control node, you install Ansible on top of it. Now you want to actually fire Ansible on other nodes. So where do you define that? So you define it in inventories. Inventory is a place where you define your managed nodes. Managed nodes can be what is your name of your node, what is your DNS, what is the user you are going to trying to connect, and so many other things depending upon the configurations. Okay, so modules, yeah. So I was talking about modules. So modules is like actually it's a unit. It's an actual code. It's actual code which actually runs. For example, if you want to run something on firewall will be UFW in case of Ubuntu, and firewall-cmd in case of Red Hat, and something else in case of Windows. That is actually the code. So this is a unit of code which is actually executed on your managed node. So it's not that your Ansible cannot be executed on your control node. Your control node can also be as an inventory. This is what modules is. Tasks. So you have this module. So when you actually run that module and do one specific action, maybe for example, I want to open a firewall, allow, UFW allow, that's one task. And maybe a second task could be I want to install Nginx, that's the second task. Third task would be I want to copy the configuration, file from my local to the target machine. That is the third task. Playbooks. So when you combine your tasks, right? So you have tasks. When you combine it together and write it in a file, that's a playbook. So this is how it looks like. So just to give you a description, control node, any machine with Ansible installed is called control node. Manage nodes. So servers which you manage, servers, virtual machines, Linux containers, anything. Inventory. So list of managed nodes. Modules, like it's actually code which is being executed. Tasks, it's an action. And when you actually order that, for example, if you have something called you have an Nginx, and then when you install Nginx, only after that you restart, right? So when you order it and then you put it in a file, that's called playbook. Few facts. So playbooks, they contain plays. Plays is like it's like when you have one section of a group. I'll be showing it, and then plays contain tasks. Task is a specific action, and when you have a task, they are attached to a specific module, and then they run sequentially, one after another. And then there is something called handlers. You remember we are talking about handlers in one of our sessions. So handler is when you have to talk. It's like it's a specific action. You define an action, and then when you attach it to some play, then that is triggered in that play. So maybe, for example, I'll say you have your Ansible, you have your managed node on which you have Nginx installed, and then now you change some configurations, and you want when there is a file change, your Nginx to restart or reload. So how do you configure? You configure it via handlers. So you say that you specify that, okay, when there is a change in this file, I want this particular action to happen. And if there is no change, there is no restart. It's just like you're actually like jumping off to a new play, and depending on some conditions. What is playbook? Playbook is a plain text YAML files that describe a desired state of something. Yeah. So we already know, right? So you have something to install, something to configure. You write it in Ansible playbooks. It's very human readable, machine readable. It's very simple. You should know just YAML, and YAML is like, it's very easy. It's a key value pair, and there are a few things which I'll just explain when I'm giving a demo. And you can use, so as we saw, right? So one of the use cases of Ansible was provisioning. So you can actually use Ansible for provisioning plus configuration management. For example, if you want to provision a MongoDB cluster, you can actually use Ansible to provision first, get the EC2 instances up and then configure using Ansible again. Okay, modules. So these are a few facts about modules. So there are over 450 modules which is from Ansible, and there are very set of modules. So whatever you have, whatever command you have, first thing from ops perspective, whatever command you have a module, and then there are for cloud providers also there are a rich set of modules. So modules, you understood, right? So it's a actual code which actually executes. Inventories, there are like, maybe we are going to take another session on like dynamic inventories and how we achieve it. So there are two types of inventories: static inventories and dynamic inventories. Static inventories is like you actually define it, write it, you say that you upfront know these are the servers. Dynamic inventory is like you have the servers, but you have used data servers, and then you actually tag those servers and dynamically fetch based on tags. So these are actually possible in your clouds, and yeah. Okay, so before going to demo, there is a Ansible Fest going to like on. It's going to happen on 13th and 14th. Maybe you guys can join, register, and then have a feel of what Ansible is from experts. Yeah, so this is all theory, and any questions as of now, I'll take a pause. Alright guys, let's move to the demo section of getting started with Ansible. So first we're gonna do is we're gonna go inside the Ansible demo folder and create an inventory and type localhost as our first inventory. And let's try out a few commands. So just to understand how commands work, so that this is the pattern. You have Ansible, you specify the pattern of your inventory, and you specify -m for module name. That could be any module, users, file, apt, yum, anything, and then -a to give you a module argument. So these are all optional arguments. So after that, we clear the screen. Let's try the first module. So Ansible-i to refer to the current inventory in my directory, and all the servers in that inventory. So -m for ping. So as you can see, we have got a response. That means it is easily connected, and it is able to directly connect to that machine and do SSH. Let's add to another host. So adding another host is like just adding a new entry, and after that, okay, so before that, let's close this terminal, and then so that things becomes like cool. Trying the same command again, and you could see this is failing because there is a permission denied, and that's obvious because there are different users which are configured to talk to different servers. Okay, so how do we solve this problem? We can solve this problem by actually grouping the servers in the inventory. So when we go inside that, we say this particular server is part of this group. So target group has server this 10.31 as a server, and a local group has localhost as a server. So in my case, there are only two. You can add more. So let's try it out. If I say -i host, and instead of all, I give a pattern that is target and -m ping, and I give a configured user -u and root. So it should work in this case now, which was giving a permission denied. It's working perfectly fine. Moving towards the first one, I mean, like, yeah. So similarly, we can do it for the other group, which we actually did in our inventory. So obviously it will not work because localhost is not configured for root. It is configured for the same user. So cool. Now let's try out something else. So what we're going to do is let's try out executing few commands. So this is how you execute a command. So I'm going to execute a command on my local. That is a group called local. So the main idea is to know what is the underlying version of what is the flavor of your Ubuntu or on your machine. So you just do cat /etc/issue, that will give, In this case, when I do it, it should give me the local one, that is 2004, Ubuntu 2004, the latest one. And when I want to do it same for the other group of servers, as in my case there's only one, so I just specify the user root. So it should give me the another result. So it is 1804. So my target machine, which is a target as a group, is 1804, which is localhost is 2004. Yeah, I can use it. I can just write like restart my target machine. So I'm not going to restart my local. Obviously, it'll interrupt. So I'm going to restart my check, and how can I restart? So this is as easy. So just to understand how, like, just to see the difference, we just say watch list and wait for some time and to execute this command. It should actually restart. It stopped and then it starts. Cool. So this was one of the use cases. If you have so many servers you want to restart, you can actually do it using a single command, Ansible-I, and give the list of servers in inventory, that is a static inventory in our case. Cool. So let's do another use case. Just check if we can actually transfer a file from my local to another machine as a target machine. So we created a file called test file and wrote hello Ansible. Now I want to transfer from here. I want to copy from here to the target machine. So -i host and give the target, which is the group. It's a inventory host group, and -m and give the module name copy, and -i is a module argument. So copy requires two things, that is source and destinations. To know the source, let me get the full absolute path of my file, and after that I just say src equals, I give the file path and give the file name, obviously, and space, and give the destination. Destination is the destination on my target machine, that is target aka that is a managed node. So I also specify root user so that I don't get the permission issue. So let's log into that node just to make sure and just to see if things are working fine, and we just do watch ls. So watch ls, it'll keep executing ls again and again, and then oops, I think I didn't uncomment it, so I gotta uncomment that. So up arrow and control A and delete. So I should be able to see that file over here now. Yeah. So this is a small example, and just to verify, you just cat that file. Yeah. So this is how you transfer your files, and then maybe you want to delete that file from here itself. So you can go ahead and execute. You can execute the command directly using -a option, or you can use a module call file and give an argument as a path and give a state as a destination as a option, then it will actually delete. So here, if I module is file and -a, it'll require the path of that file. So the path of that file is which is on that root, that is the test file. And what you want to do is you want to delete. So state equals to absent will actually delete my file. -u and root. So it says it's absent, and when I go to that machine, I should not be able to see that. Cool. Okay, let's move forward for some other use case which we think. How do we create it? So for example, I want to create a new file. So let's just try it out. When I say state present, should create. Oops, it's giving an error. Yeah, so state equals to present. Let's also try to give a mode. So mode is a file permission with which it will be created. Oops. Okay. Let's focus. Okay. I got it. So it doesn't support present either. In this case, you can even say that is it a hard link or it's a touch file, or how we are going to create. So let's use touch. So we are going to create an empty file. So state equals to touch should actually get us our file created with the correct mode. Yep, we have this. Okay. Now moving towards another use case. Let's say we want to let's say we have a user and then we want to delete, so you can actually use that user module to actually create a delete a user. In this case, I'm going to create a user manually and delete it via Ansible. So add user os group, and let me pass few things manually and just try checking if we can actually delete it from our Adhoc commands, so using Ansible. So I think I have my user created. Yaps, os group is the new user. Okay, now I switch to the next terminal and I say Ansible -i and host file, give the target name, that's a group of server, and -u -m user -a, and let's say we need a name of the user, that is os group, and we need a state, so state should be absent. I want to delete it, and cool. So when I just do this -u root, it should get me things deleted. Okay, oh cool. So there's a spelling mistake, so it's not users, it's a user. We go back and then we just correct it, and we should be good to go. As you can see, it has actually deleted when I do okay, cool. So this is one of the another way to verify, or we can just do grep and check. Cool. Yeah, now maybe we can actually try some other use cases. So let's try checking. Let's try installing an Nginx. So what we can do is my apt is my module name. I can say apt-a name is Nginx, and then say state equals to present. So it's that easy. So when you just do it, and sorry, we didn't specify the username. So when you just do specify username -u root, it should actually get you Nginx being installed. So it actually installing Nginx takes time, so it'll take a little time. And when we see this, we get this result. So this says it seems we have our Nginx being installed. That we can go ahead and check on that machine, or maybe we can execute few commands from here. So we can say service status Nginx, and then system serial service, whatever. So whatever is fine with you. So for me, it is system serial status Nginx, and I'm gonna just remove this app and just check. Okay, I can see this running, and it is running since it's running 1 minute 30 seconds ago, and I can just netstat -plnt, and so see, this is since one user, one person, one group, one target. So it's like it's very easy for it is easier to with the same. It's same. It is easier in the same way with a huge number of servers. Moving to the demo part 2, we have already seen Ansible Adhoc commands. Now we are going to see Ansible-Playbook. So first thing we're going to create is we're going to create a playbook.yaml file, and the main motto is to install Jenkins. So we are going to write a YAML a playbook which is going to install Jenkins. So host is equals to target. Target is the group of inventory which we have created in host file. Remote user we are going to specify over here as a root, because we know it as a root. So there are few things called pre-task, and there is task, and there are post-task. So as we know, for Jenkins we need a Java, so let's install Java first as a pre-task, and then after that in task we specify how to install, we write code how to install Jenkins, and after that after if it is being installed we say okay, let's check the status. So where we are going to have two variables, Java underscore home and Java packages. In this case we are going to install Java 18, and this is how we actually, so there is one play we are just going to check if we have man directory, and if man directory is there we are just going to check. if we have Java installed. So we are also having one file in which we are going to use export Java home. So that's a file called java_home.sh. So first thing we saw, we are just checking if mandatory is there. If it is there, then we are just checking if Java is installed. And after that, we want to set Java home. So in this case, what we are going to do is we are going to copy that file which we just created, and we have a command, and we're going to put it in home.sh. We're going to put it in profile. So obviously when it is in profile, it actually gets sourced. So let's check if we have Java installed. We don't have Java installed on our target machine, that is Bionic. Cool. And going inside the file again, so we have written 3 tasks, which is ensuring if man is there. After that, it's checking Java is there or not. If there, if not, then we're installing it, and we are setting the path. So Java part is done. Now we have to decide on what are things we are going to do to install Jenkins. Okay, so whenever we are installing few things, we need to take care of. That is, like, we need to download the public signing key first thing. We need to add it, and after that we are going to add a repository, and then after that we are going to install. So in this case, let's have a task which actually adds the key. So apt_key is a module which actually adds the key. It needs a URL, that is a key URL. It's a URL for a public key. This is the public key URL, and after that you say a state is present. Cool. And after that, we want to add another task, that is we are going to add a repo. So repo will be added as a apt_repository, which is a module corresponding to that task. And here also we need a repo, which is a URL. It will be something like this, and state will be present. After that, we should move to install section. So we are going to install Jenkins. So let's check the indentation. It looks fine. Install Jenkins. So we are going to use apt as a module because we know we are going to install on Ubuntu. So name is Jenkins, that's the package name, and state should be present, present. And let's say update case. So it will be like, it will make sure that it will do apt update. I think so. This is done for tasks. Now we should think about post task, which is like which will be executed after your task is executed. So post_tasks. In this section, we are just going to start the Jenkins. So I think so it is post_pre_task, not hyphen. So let's go ahead and replace it. Cool. We'll come back, and after that we just define few tasks. So let's name the task as start Jenkins. So we can pass a cell module where we are actually trying to pass the command systemctl start Jenkins, and also let's check if it is started properly or not. Systemctl start status Jenkins and register. So we again pass a command systemctl status Jenkins. We register, we store that to a variable, or we say status, and then after that we actually put it to, we print it. We print it. Okay, now I think our playbook looks cool. So we say Ansible-Playbook -i host. We don't need to give the group because we have already specified in the host Jenkins.yaml, and we also have specified the user. The remote user is root, so we don't need to specify the user over here. So first thing is it is going to check whether your it is going to execute pre-task. So in pre-task, it is actually, oops, there is some error. Okay, seems like the entry which is there in package.list.debian.list is not good. Maybe we'll re-execute it. So it takes little time to install Java. Yeah, cool. So yeah, after actually, okay. So seems like things are like sometimes it happens with due to your internet connectivity, and if you're not having your proper repo definition inside your etc apt sources.list.d. So maybe I can actually paste that or share the file of the YAML playbook.yaml, which has the correct signing keys and also with this correct repo definition. When we have these, okay, looks like this is again giving a problem. So it looks like the signing key which we are using is like not the actual one. So what we will do is, let's go inside, let's replace it with the correct one. So this is the correct one. Cool, and done. Now I think I should be able to use it. So there was a problem with the signing key that was not proper. Okay, so it checks if your Java is installed. If it is configured, it will skip. So another thing, it is since your repo was already added, so it is not doing it again. It is only just adding the public signing key. After adding the public signing key, it is in process of installing Jenkins. We have Jenkins installed, done. It is changed. Now it is in the process of starting Jenkins, and it started. And after that, we are actually fetching the status. So it should throw out me huge list of debug things. So yeah, so it will give you the status. Since the status status returns so many things. Cool. So this is a small example of Ansible-Playbook, how you write it. So you have pre-task, post-task, and after that you can actually go ahead and check it. So you do net -plnt. You can check if it is installed or not, and in our case it is already installed. And after that you can actually do so many things like find the IP and go ahead and just do the posting after your after your Jenkins is installed. So even you can actually configure your Jenkins after this, so that will require a little more play a task to be written in your YAML file, that is a playbook, and then you're good to go. So this is how you check it. So you guys know how to check it. So use the IPN port. In this case, the port is 8080, and you will have your Jenkins up. Cool. So that's it for this section, guys. Yeah. So this was a small demo on getting started with Ansible. So like a small use case. So you can have your own use case and try to jot down things like what are the steps you want to actually perform, and after that you actually convert it or map it to a task, and you frame it, okay, whether it should be a pre-task or a post-task, and then you write it and execute it. I mean, describe it and execute it. So this is how your things look like. I already explained it, so maybe if you want to go through, you can go through it. And yeah, so these are like few steps. So for Java, this is the JDK we're going to install, and after that we are actually setting the Java home, and that we are actually copying the file, which is a templates. What does it maps the file from one location to another location and make sure the desired state is already there. And there is a task. So the tasks is for installing your Jenkins, and there are few things which you need to, and this is your post task. Cool. So thank you guys, thank you for watching. And if you run it again, it since it is idempotent, so it will not execute the command which is already executed. They'll check, and then it will only execute the changes. So that's how it works. So in this case, we have Java already installed. For example, if you go ahead and install on a local machine and then you run this, it will detect that which was done from which was also done from your by yourself on the local. So as you can see, all are green. Okay, there is no changed, and only thing you will get changed in a status or in a command. So commands are not idempotent. So cool, guys. Thank you for watching and have a great time. Keep sharing and keep learning. Please like, share, and subscribe, and see you in our next session. Thank you. Bye.